Our next speaker is Tim Forcey. Now, I did my due diligence with Tim and looked him up on Google as well. But when you look Tim up on Google, there's no chance of getting the wrong one because there's page after page after page of things that Tim's been doing. In fact, I went through to page 11 on Google search without any one of them not being about the real Tim Forcey. And on page 11, there was one reference in Finnish. I don't read Finnish, it might have still been about the real Tim, but certainly Tim has done a lot of publishing. Now, Tim is a home comfort and energy advisor, which I think is a lovely phrase. So he does work with making our homes more comfortable. Getting off gas, no doubt, is one of them. He has an interesting background. He brought up, I believe, on a dairy farm, was a chemical engineer, and worked for a fossil fuel company. I think it might be Esso. Then he decided that he could do more good from outside the lion's den, from outside the corporation of Esso, and he's been working on trying to get people to improve their homes. So Tim likes to work with people like this and try and get us to make some changes. So please welcome Tim Forcey. And I gave Tim an energy rating because I thought, well, he likes energy ratings. I only gave him 3.5 stars because he's going to try to get it up a bit by talking to us.
How energetic are we? I don't know. Everybody want to stand up and move around and get the energy down? You'll get it up to 5 stars, I'm not sure. Oh, thanks a lot. There is a guy in England that plays cricket. His name's Tim Forcey, but I don't think he's very good, so you won't say. But he's better than me, because I don't play any cricket at all. Thanks for coming along on this beautiful day. As was said before, my wife's Connie's here. She's helping out with the book sales down the back. We live in Sandringham, so not too far away, but it's always a pleasure to come down this way. And we had a nice lunch at the Merrick's General Store, so that was beautiful. A bit freezing though. We were out near the fire, which meant it was really cold because it was sucking all this cold air up through the deck that we were sitting on. But anyway, warmed up a little bit. So here we are today, and I could tell you a bunch of things, but I guess mostly I'm going to tell you how you could improve your homes, how you could save a lot of money by running your home on better energy choices, which will involve electricity, not gas, not LPG, not even wood, and how to be more comfortable in your home. So with the draft ceiling, as we were mentioning before, but with the caveats about managing your air quality, insulation, improving windows, all those things. How did I get in this business? Well, I've always been interested in energy efficiency. Even when I was a chemical engineer working in industry, we try to do things as efficiently as you could. I mean, that's good business. You don't try to waste energy or waste anything else. So as an engineer, I was always involved with industrial energy efficiency. But in the home as well, I grew up in the 1970s, and there was an energy crisis in America where I grew up. And, you know, I remember my parents, we were wrapping the water heater down in the basement with insulation then. And when I learned to drive, there was this little thing on the ute, on the pickup truck that showed you whether you were running the pickup truck efficiently or whether you were flogging it a little too hard. And there were ads about pumping up your tires and things to keep them properly inflated. So I was kind of a child of an energy crisis. So it wasn't always an area of interest. Eventually we did move down here to Australia, and yes, strangely enough, I migrated down here to work in the fossil fuel industry with Esso and BHP, but now I tell people to get off this stuff because you got a lot better options. But that was a bit ironic, and we bought the house in Sandringham and proceeded to, you know, fix it up and expand and do all those things that you've done. Pretty soon we'll be in that home 30 years. Initially, when we were putting up a couple bedrooms for the kids, you know, you ask the builder, you know, are we going to do the double glazed windows? This is like 1994. No double glazed windows. I mean, you could hardly even find them back then. And what about insulation in the walls? No, you don't need insulation in the walls in 1994. And I said, hang on a minute, maybe we'll just put some insulation in the walls. You know, why not? Because I had grown up in ice and snow, and I knew I knew it was kind of important to try and keep the energy in the house. But anyway, I've got a lot more slides here than we'll ever get through today. Cut me off when we get out of time. I've written a book. Why? Because I've been doing a lot of public speaking on this for a long, long time. And like I did a podcast, and then the publisher heard me on a podcast and said, look, write all that stuff down and we'll put it into a book. And so what you find in the book now, I've got a business these days. I go into people's homes. I'll spend 3 hours in their home and we'll look at everything. I'll crawl on the roof space, look at the insulation. We'll look at the energy bills. We'll run the shower heads. We'll do all those things. And so I've been in over 1,000 homes helping people to improve them. And so it was pretty easy when it came time to write a book to just write down all these different stories that I've been going over and over again with people in their homes. So that's what you'll find in the book, are those sorts of stories. But this is the sort of thing that's possible. How to set your home up so you're not using any LPG, which is very expensive, not using any wood or gas, rather it's just all electric. And you can end up saving as much as $3,000 a year. And I'll show you, in the case of our house, how that was possible. And so forward, there's the book. And if you pick up a copy of the book or have a look through it, it's not the first book of its type that's ever been written, but it is the first for Australia for about 10 years. But it's the usual chapters that you might expect. So there's a chapter on home heating, and then hot water and cooking, and the draft proofing, but maintaining air quality, and on the insulation, and on the solar panels, and even on the electric car and the batteries, etc. So all these different topics that you find chapter by chapter in the book. I'm doing a bit of a speaking tour now. So Tuesday it'll be Brunswick, Wednesday it's Sandringham, Thursday it's Shepparton, and it goes on and on. I've got about 32 events lined up between now and Cup Day, from Lake Macquarie to Port Adelaide. So it's really, and the other week I was on radio 16 times and on television a couple times. So this is something that people are really interested in. It's a way they can save money, but also improve comfort and health in the home, get off the fossil fuels, and of course be reducing your climate emissions and all those things. So there's just so many useful things here, I guess, for people. But this was the book that came before, 10 years before, Energy Freedom Home. You can still find it in the libraries. And again, you can see the different pictures represent the different chapters and the different topics. And so here I'll try to at least get through heating and hot water and cooking, and eventually you'll have to cut me off because there won't be time to get through absolutely everything that you talk about in a house. This is kind of where things got started a bit. This was now 9 years ago, and I had a casual research gig at the University of Melbourne, and we were the first ones really to sit down and do the numbers. And 9 years ago we worked out that you can heat a home with a reverse cycle air conditioner for a third the cost of using mains gas. And it's probably even a fourth or a fifth the cost of using LPG, should anybody be using LPG to heat your home. So reverse cycle air conditioners are the go. Other parts of the world, they call them heat pumps. Europe right now is going crazy for heat pumps, and you can even put a heat pump on your hydronic heating. And Europe's going crazy for those things right now because they want to get off the Russian gas. Well, we could be saving a lot of money by not using any gas in our homes, and particularly not for the heating. So yeah, a third the cost to heat with a reverse cycle air conditioner. And I guess if there's any heat on in this building today, it probably is reverse cycle of one sort or another. I don't think they're burning any gas here to heat this space. So it's doable. And back then, even in 2015, we worked out you could save $658 a year by not using the gas. I've got clients in their homes, they're spending $10, $15, $20, $25 a day burning gas, whereas in our old weatherboard in Sandringham, we'd have a hard time putting more than $1.50 into the air conditioners to heat the place. So that's how you can save a lot of money. But this was back 9 years ago, and at the time, we made a big mistake with this report. It's not a coincidence this book comes out right here as we head right into winter. And there's even stories in the news about Victoria running out of gas, etc. Guess what? We timed the release of this book for this period. Unlike we did 9 years ago when we published this report, we published it like on the 30th of August, which is like the end of winter, so nobody cared. We got a little bit of media, but not much. But anyway, there was a good news story here that we needed to spread the word on, so how to do it. And it was my kids that suggested, look, Dad, have you ever heard of social media? And so I started a Facebook group. And the Facebook group was called My Efficient Electric Home. And now the book is called My Efficient Electric Home Handbook. But yeah, the Facebook group, if you're on Facebook at all, or if you know someone who is, maybe you're already members, plenty of people are. We're up to 125,000 members. We've had 2,000 people just join in the last week. So it's quite a lot of useful discussion going on in this Facebook group. It's not just a chat. You can search for posts that I put up 9 years ago in this thing. I consider this to be the world's largest database, searchable database on all these topics, whether it's draft proofing or heating with a hot water heat pump, etc. So Facebook can be used for good. This is one way to do it. But one of the reasons I started the group also was just to, make sure that that I wasn't talking baloney, that people would be saving money by getting the gas out of their homes. And we quickly started to see a lot of people from around the country, even in Canberra, where they were saving thousands of dollars a year by not using gas in their homes. For example, Jackie down the bottom, we used our reverse cycle air conditioner this winter in Canberra. Worked great, on track to save $1,100 in a single winter. So that was the sort of thing that was possible. And now I'll have like journalists or politicians ring me up and say, hey, we need some case studies about all electric homes. I'm like, I got 10,000 of them. How do I find a case study now? There's just so many people that are doing this thing and have done it and moved on with their lives. And so, yeah, you can get in a situation where no more gas meter or no more LPG bottle. This is now a thing. And even the gas industry now realizes this is a thing. People are getting off the gas grid. And we even have businesses start up now like Trent's called all electric homes. So you can't make it any more obvious than that. And there's other businesses, Goodbye Gas, Get Off Gas, Pure Electric. So there's whole businesses now started up just to help people to make the transition off of gas. And these are some of the dollars and numbers. This is the only chart in the book, and this is our house. And what it shows you, the red in energy units, the red is the gas we used to buy off the system, and the blue is the electricity that we used to buy. So in 2008, you can see we're buying a lot of red, which is gas, and we were buying a lot of blue, which is electricity. And the first thing we did in 2009, we got those first 6 solar panels. Everybody got the 1 kilowatt back then. And you can see the amount of blue does go down a bit. And then heading over toward 2016, we were draft proofing, we were insulating, we did some renovations and put in the double glazed windows that we should have put in the first time, I suppose. And that had reduced the use of the gas, the red stuff. But the big game changer you can see in 2017, this is when we got off the gas heating, the old ducted gas heating. I mean, I put the ducted gas heating in 1994 and stopped using it again in 2017. Instead, we used 2 split systems. So a reverse cycle in the main part of the house and one in the master bedroom. And that's all we had to do to stay warm. And hey, it was pretty nice to have air conditioners for once for the summertime as well. They're amazing machines. They can heat and cool. You can't cool your house with ducted gas heating, for example. So 2017, you can see the use of the red stuff, the gas really goes away, and the blue hardly goes up. So yeah, reverse cycles use some electricity, but not that much. So you don't see a big change there. Further on in 2018, we got off the gas hot water, got a hot water heat pump. There's one out the back here if you want to have a look at the standard brand hot water heat pump out the back. There's one for this facility. So no more gas for the hot water. 2019, we put in 22 more solar panels. So rather than just having 6 panels, now we have 28. And then we finally got off the gas cooking completely in 2021. We did have a period where we were using the portable induction cooktop as well before we did a bit of a kitchen renovation and we would get rid of the gas cooking and onto the induction. And so now you can see the house is a situation now in 2022 where it is a net energy provider to the system, uses no gas, and if you look at it over the course of a whole year, it actually sends more electricity out onto the grid than what we use at home. And we've even got a luxury item, an electrically heated spa, otherwise the numbers would be even better. And but we don't have an electric car. Once we get the electric car, I'll have to redraw these graphs and put the petrol on there, and we can see how all that works. So yeah, that's our house. That's one case study. This isn't dollars though. This is energy units, kilowatt hours. But if it was dollars, we still pay about $500 a year for electricity. You pay $1 a day to be connected to the electricity grid, so that's $365 you're probably not going to get out of. But overall, with our spa and everything, it's like $500 a year for electricity. But if we'd not made all these investments, we'd be spending $3,500 a year for gas and electricity. But after making all these investments, you can really reduce your energy costs. And look, I always do have to, you know, I really enjoy this sort of thing. It's great to see a group of people, and it's good to go to the Merrick's General Store and have lunch and travel around a bit. But I do have to remind myself there's, you know, the reason I'm actually in this is because of a deadly serious reason, and that's the climate emergency. So the planet's in bad shape and is, you know, not getting any better anytime soon, because we've got this sort of thing going on. This is the graph of the global temperatures, and the global temperatures are getting really hot, not like they've been, you know, we haven't seen this sort of change in the 20,000 years that's graphed on this chart. So we see the blue period there, that's when humans developed and civilization developed, and the temperatures were quite stable, and now we're really giving the thing a kick, and temperatures are going to be getting well out of control. And as a chemical engineer, you look at this and you say, well, this is not good. This is a runaway reaction that we've got happening here. You know, when I worked in oil refineries and chemical plants, we worked really hard to make sure that we kept things under control. We didn't let things explode or to go over pressure or get over temperature. So when a chemical engineer sees that this is what we're doing with the whole planet, you get a little bit excited and motivated to go do things, which some of them happen to be fun, like getting to meet all of you today. But it goes back to this, and you know, we've got the kids, we've got the grandkids. All of these things are reminders of why you bothered to do this. Rightio. So if you're still using gas at home for heating or LPG or even wood, get onto the reverse cycle. They're heat pumps. These things are like 400% efficient. You put 1 unit of electricity in them, you get like 4 times as much heat coming out. That's a tremendous deal. How's that even possible? Well, what they do is they're actually able to collect free heat from outside your house, pump it up to a temperature warm enough to heat your house, and bring that inside. So if you have one of these and it's running when you go home, if you walk near the outside unit, it'll be freezing cold by the outside unit, and you'll think, well, that's just because it's blowing air around. But it's blowing air around, but it's also actually extracting heat from the air, and I don't care if it's only 6 degrees outside, there is still heat in the air. The refrigerant inside these things is like minus 25 degrees, and so it's able to capture that heat from the environment, which warms up the refrigerant. Then the refrigerant goes through a compressor, which makes it hot enough then to come inside and heat your house. So 400% efficient, free heat from outside. The gas industry can't compete with this sort of thing, and no risk of being killed by carbon monoxide poisoning. So much cheaper to use than an electric heater. So an electric panel heater or an oil fin heater, those things could be considered to be 100% efficient, which sounds good, but they're not as good as 400% efficient. So an electric heater is not going to get free heat from outside, and you can run up a big electricity bill if the only thing you have for heating are the electric heaters. So you might use those in a small room for limited hours of a day or across a year. If you're using them enough, you really should think about maybe whether you should be spending another couple $1,000s on another reverse cycle air conditioner. And just by the way, as maybe Trent will talk about, there are some big government incentives these days for getting an air conditioner if you're able to get off the gas heating. So some big government help there for making some of these investments. Then there's the gas heaters that we're talking about already. And checking the gas heaters. Now this is another thing that you can do, of course, if you happen to be lucky enough to have the solar panels and a good roof, is you can be running your heater off your own solar panels. So not doing it tonight, but on another day, if I was home, I might turn the air conditioner on at 3 o'clock in the house to heat the place. You know, we got a lot of good sun comes into the house, but still I might start to heat at 3 o'clock when we still have some sun on the solar panels, because that's basically free electricity that we can use to run the air conditioners to heat the house. So this is, you know, this is like free heating if you're lucky enough to set it up that way. So find the heat button on the air conditioner. That's the thing. I mean, the gas industry likes to say, oh, it's way too expensive to electrify. And I'm like, yeah, you might need to find a couple batteries for the remote control. So there's so many more homes in Victoria and across the country every year that are getting their first reverse cycle air conditioners, but they're getting them thinking they're going to use them for summer. And nobody's told them to use them all winter long as the cheapest source of heating. So in a lot of homes, there's nothing more to buy. You've already got the reverse cycle, but you just haven't tried it for heating, or you tried it and maybe you didn't think it worked that well, and we'll have a Q&A session. We can talk about that But yeah, get some batteries for the remote control, find the heat button, turn it on, and start saving immediately. But make sure the filters are clean. So I've been in a lot of homes where the filters are dirty, whether it's for the ducted gas heating or the ducted heating or the split system. So sometimes people will say, yeah, I tried to heat with the split system, didn't work that well. And I'm like, well, is the filter clean? And they go, the what? And so then we open it up and we see this sort of thing. I mean, I was in the home of a CSIRO scientist and they didn't know that there was a filter in the air conditioner. So we cleaned it up and it worked a lot better. No surprise. Heat with the air con. That's wood heaters, hot water. So you can use the same technology to heat your water. And this shows it quite well. And like I said, there's one of these units just outside the building here, a Sand and Brand. This is a 2-piece unit, split system. You could call it the air conditioner heat pump bit is extracting free heat from the air to put it in the water. So again, 300, 400% efficient, a third the cost versus heating with gas. Maybe it's a fifth the cost versus heating water with LPG. So you definitely want to be looking into a hot water heat pump rather than using LPG for hot water. And again, this is what they look like, the various heat pumps. If it's a 1-piece unit, you can get larger, small tanks. That's shown on the left-hand side there. And again, you can do this thing if you're lucky enough to have the solar panels. So our heat pump came on at 11 o'clock today. It'll run for a couple hours to make sure the whole tank is full of hot water, and then it'll stop. And that's practically free hot water that we've got happening with that combination. So that's the thing to do these days. And this shows you may or may not be familiar with these graphs, but this shows our solar system and the electricity use in our house. So the graph starts with that little blue wiggly line on the one end there. That's the middle of the night. That's our fridge coming on and off. So that's the electricity that we're using in the house with the fridge. But then the sun comes up, and that's that big gray bit. So this is a beautiful sunny day in January. And so all that gray is electricity the solar produced. But we weren't even home this day, and so all that gray got sold out onto the electricity grid, except for the yellow bit in the middle. What was that? That was the hot water heat pump coming on the timer to make sure the whole tank is full of hot water. So when we got home the next day, the tank would be full of hot water. And that's a different day when it wasn't quite so sunny. But still, you see some good advantages for that combination of solar panels and the hot water heat pump. We could talk about shower heads, make sure you're not using too much water. Cooking was already been covered by Genevieve a fair bit. Yeah, just to tell you the story that I might come into a home and people would say, yeah, the house is too cold, so I want to talk about insulation, I want to talk about draft proofing. Yeah, we'd be interested in saving money by heating with the air conditioners, want to talk about that. But let's not talk about gas cooking because I love cooking with gas. And I'm going to be in a home for 3 hours, so I'll just let that slide for a little bit, but maybe an hour and a half later I'll come back and I'll ask the question. Are there any, respiratory health issues in the home, any asthma, that sort of thing? And they might say, my child has asthma. And then I'll talk about the cooking thing. And it's very interesting how quickly getting off the gas cooking goes right up to the top of the priority list for parents with kids with asthma. There's Connie doing some cooking on the stir fry there on our cooktop. And I just want to point out with this slide that the induction is not the one on the right. So I often will say to people, do you know about induction cooking? And they're like, yeah, I think I know about induction cooking. And I'm like, was it this one here on the right where these burners got red hot and you could burn yourself and it was kind of slow to adjust and all that? And they're like, yeah, that was it. And I'm like, no, that's not induction. This is what you call electric resistive or ceramic cooktop. And so that's kind of the old school electric cooktop, and they work, but they are a bit slower and you can burn yourself. Whereas the induction is cooking with magnets. So you never see anything get red hot. The pot gets hot, but if you were to remove the pot from the induction and actually touch the surface, it'll be a bit warm, but it's not going to be so hot that you'd burn yourself. And that's the magical difference between induction cooking with magnets versus the ceramic type. So if you're familiar with the ceramic type, you may not be familiar with the induction, which is very quick and very responsive and quite safe. And there's some of the portable, like My Efficient Electric Home, the Facebook group. We've got people doing all sorts of interesting things. And the one on the left there, you can see they had an electric oven but a gas cooktop, which they didn't want to use anymore. I don't know if anybody in the house had asthma, but they very quickly got a block of wood and 3 portable induction cooktops that just plug into the wall. No electrician needed in that case until they can get around to coming up with a permanent situation. And then I was in an Asian restaurant in Melbourne, and every table here had its own portable induction cooktop. So, you know, we're only going to have to bang on about this for another couple of years before everybody's going to have heard the story. There's a lot of stuff now that, you know, there's stuff I was saying 5-6 years ago I don't have to say anymore because people have learned and have moved on, and induction's just about to hit that threshold as well, I think. There's some more portable induction cooktops. And sometimes libraries or community groups are able to even loan out a portable induction so people can give it a try. But remember to clean the, you know, your extraction fan, because Genevieve was talking about how important it is to get particulates and whatever, moisture even. So even if you're not cooking with gas, you can still make a mess of it in the kitchen and burn things. And so you do want all that moisture and smoke or whatever to be leaving the house. Make sure your range hood is clean, the grease trap there. Right, and so yeah, get rid of the gas meter. So down here at Flinders, we don't have reticulated gas, but you may know people, family members, whoever, that do use gas. If you're able to get the home off of gas, well, yeah, in the case of the LPG, you can have the bottle returned, but in the case of the gas grid here, you can have the meter returned, and so that's what we're doing these days. And it's a good place, once you get rid of the gas meter, it's a good place for a pot plant, if you can put that instead. Just to mention a bit about the gas situation, because it has been in the news that Victoria is running out of gas, and you know, how are we going to get through the next week if it stays cold? And it is a really good question, because I used to work with SOVHP, and I'd go to Longford and Sale, and I'd get on the helicopters and I'd fly out to the offshore platforms in the Bass Strait, and you know, at one point there was a lot of oil and a lot of gas there. You know, they discovered that like 59 years ago, and they said, wow, you know, there's a lot of oil here, a lot of gas, there's like 60 years worth of gas. We could run a whole city and a whole state off all this gas. But that was 59 years ago. And so we are to the very last dregs of the gas coming out of the Bass Strait. It can't produce at the rate that it always used to. So this week, Victoria would be using a lot of coal seam gas coming down those pipelines you can see from Central Australia. So the coal seam gas goes all the way across and then down, whether it's coming through Sydney first or Adelaide. But this is what we're doing in Victoria now. We're burning Queensland coal seam gas. Who knew? Well, the State Energy Minister knows, Lily D'Ambrosio. A couple of years ago, I did a consult in her home. She was getting her home off gas, and now she's getting the whole state off gas. So the Victorian government is supporting things like, as I said, big rebates if you want to get a reverse cycle air conditioner, big rebates if you want to get hot water heat pumps as we get the whole state off gas. Otherwise, you know, they're talking about bringing gas in by boat to Geelong. Of course, AGL talked about bringing gas in by boat to Hastings, to Western Port, and that was defeated. But they're still looking at bringing in liquefied gas to Geelong and Wollongong and Adelaide. Look, that's not going to be cheap gas. Could be coming from Russia for all we know. And you know, we got cheaper options, so why would you want to use that stuff? So I saw the flag. Let me just see. Yeah, that's just what the coal seam gas situation looks like in Queensland. You know, in the Bass Strait, you know, we used to drill like 50 wells, and you could run Melbourne off of 50 wells in the Bass Strait. Here you need 50,000. So that's the difference between the coal seams and the sort of oil and gas production that there was out in the Bass Strait. But that's finished now. More slides. Look, yeah, we could get into the draft proofing and the insulating. Have a look in your roof space. Probably the insulation you thought was there isn't where you thought it was, because somebody went up there to fix a water leak or to change a light bulb or to install the NBN, and so they've shifted all your insulation around. So check that out. It could be one of the easier things. And it is possible to retrofit insulation into walls and under floors. Windows can be improved, of course, whether with simple things like plastic wrap or bubble wrap, or better blinds and curtains, to doing the full double glazing thing. Draft proofing, very important, because our homes are very leaky, but when we do draft proof the home, we need to be a bit more aware of our air quality so we don't get into situations with excessive moisture and mold. And that kind of ties it back to what Genevieve was saying, and I'll probably stop there.
Thank you, Tim.